Frankly, neither of these parties is going to win any awards for being a parent of the year. Neither of them are going to win any awards for being a faithful spouse to the other. They both have moved on. And
I just discovered, I just want to start out by saying we're here on some temporary motions. I filed a complaint for divorce on behalf of my client, Mrs. Cassandra Ingram. Parties have 3 minor children. And speaking with my client, it looks like she went through the Tennessee Child Support Receiving Agency through the District Attorney General's office and filed a petition to set support. That was filed on November of last year. And it's alleged in that petition that the children reside with Mrs. Ingram, that the defendant had a legal duty to support. And that was served on him, a hearing in January. And then the matter came before Judge Kearns on January 8th. And the findings and recommendations at that point in time, that there's the primary residential parent, that she's the primary residential parent. The above named parents owe a duty to support for 2 children, although the parties have 3 children. And he was ordered to pay child support in the amount of $374 plus $26 on an arrearage, and he is found to be in arrears by $2,288. I did not allege that in my petition, and I wanted the court to be aware of that. So, Your Honor, what we have again is I'm representing Mrs. Ingram. The parties, she works at Walmart and works the evening shift. Parties have 3 minor children. The 2 eldest, age 14, are twins. The parties separated. Mr. Ingram left the residence. They own a home located at 1. This was a home that was constructed to him through a program known as Habitat for Humanity. There is prohibitions as far as the home is concerned about who owns it. Of course, Habitat still owns it. They're making payments on the home, and we're asking for exclusive possession. I attempted to have a conversation with Mr. Ingram. It did not go anywhere other than the fact that Mr. Ingram did say that he does not want the home and has no intentions of asking for the home. So as far as the possession of the home, my client would be asking for that, and it's my understanding on my limited conversation with Mr. Ingram that he's not disputing that. In addition, Your Honor, we are here on the issue, on the additional ex parte, or the temporary matters, where we're asking to adopt a parenting plan, spousal support, or division of temporary division of marital debts. I have an income and expense statement that we will present. As I said, I tried to have a conversation with Mr. Ingram. It was not forthcoming. There are 2 children that are in my client's possession, and 1 child that is currently residing with Mr. Ingram, and we don't allege that that's an appropriate placement for that child. And we'll be asking to be primary residential parent for all 3 of the children.
Mr. Ingram, you are currently representing yourself. Do you understand that we're here today on motions?
Actually, I'm going to request a continuance for me to seek legal counsel.
And Your Honor, we will be seeking the rule. 1 of the children is in the courtroom, and we would ask that.
Anyone who's going to be a potential witness must go outside of the courtroom and remain outside of the courtroom until you're called to testify. You're not to discuss the testimony of any other party with anyone until such time as you have been called to testify yourself. This motion, the motion that we're here, of course, this case was filed in December of 2023. The motion for spousal support was filed in December the 28th and set originally for the 30th of January. And then I think it was reset for today by another notice on the 5th day of February 2024. And then it's been bumped from the 5th day of February until today. I'm sorry, the 26th day of February. That was the notice of hearing was filed on February the 6th, setting this hearing for the 26th. So 20 days have gone by. Why have you not retained counsel before now?
I've been looking, but couldn't find anybody I could afford until today.
Well, more than 60 days have elapsed since the filing of this. Well, right at 60 days have elapsed since the filing of this. And obviously the court needs to make issues regarding this. This is a temporary hearing, and therefore anything that is done on a temporary basis under a court hearing is just temporary in nature and does not mean that that's what's going to happen at the final hearing. So I can't say that you haven't had enough time to hire a lawyer. You've been looking for one, but that's not a basis to continue this hearing. So we'll go forward with the hearing today. Ms. Roberts, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, I would call Mr. Ingram.
Ingram, if you'll come around here, we're going to ask you to raise your right hand and be placed under oath.
Your name is Daniel Ingram, is that correct, sir?
It is.
And Mr. Ingram, is it true that you left the marital residence back in October of 2023?
It is by her request.
Okay, and it's true, have you recently made a trip to California?
Yes, I did. To meet a friend.
Who paid for that trip?
I did.
So you had the money to fly to California to meet another young lady, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you've committed adultery, is that right?
Incorrect.
So who did you go meet in California?
A friend.
Who did you go meet in California?
Her name is Madison.
Madison what?
Williams?
Madison Williams. Is this somebody you met online?
Yes.
And then you have recently, this past weekend, did you go to what, North Carolina?
Yes.
And
Or
who?
no, Virginia.
Virginia, excuse me. Who did you meet in Virginia?
A friend.
Who did you meet in Virginia, sir?
Her name is Rihanna.
Rihanna who?
I don't have her last name on me right now.
Okay, so you're meeting women online
Yes.
and you're flying out and spending money to go meet them. Is that correct?
I am driving out most of the time, yes.
Okay, but you're spending money to go visit these women that you meet online.
Yes.
Okay. And are you involving yourself in a sexual relationship with these women?
No.
How many other women have you met online and started a
Just two.
relationship? Just those two?
Yes.
And how much money did you spend to fly to California?
A couple hundred.
A couple of hundred. You flew to California for $200 back, a round trip?
I don't remember the exact price.
Okay. And then you drove to Virginia, and what kind of vehicle did you drive?
A Nissan Sentra.
Did you,
It's, the monitors are on outside.
oh. Thank you,
Mr. Sanders' client let us know.
thank you. And you drove in a vehicle, didn't you just wreck your vehicle?
Yes.
When did you wreck your vehicle?
In December.
In December, what were you doing when you wrecked your vehicle?
Driving home from work.
Driving home from work. So what vehicle did you drive to Virginia in?
My brother's.
Your brother's, you borrowed your brother's vehicle?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
Now,
what I've been driving for the past 2 months to get
Okay.
back and forth to work.
okay, now, the vehicle that you wrecked, what kind of vehicle was that?
A Nissan Altima.
And was that just in your name?
Yes.
What year was it?
24.
You just had purchased it?
Yes.
Was it covered under insurance?
Yes, it was.
Did you pay for that insurance?
Yes, I
Have
did.
you received a settlement for that car?
That car was paid off by the insurance company.
So the answer to my question is yes, ma'am, I did receive a settlement for that. Is that right?
Yes.
And did you pay off the total payoff?
No, it didn't pay it off. I'm still waiting for Gap to finish paying it off.
Okay. Was it a single car accident?
Yes.
And you had full liability, full coverage?
Full coverage, yes, I did.
Okay. Now, you're working at Allied Universal
Universal.
Security?
Yes.
What do you do for Allied Universal Security?
I'm a security guard.
And where do you work?
General Motors out in Spring Hill.
Okay, and how much do you make, sir?
17.
17 or 17.50 per hour?
17.
17 per hour, and how many hours do you work?
It depends on the week.
In the past, you have worked 12-hour shifts and you've worked 5 days a week, is that correct?
Correct.
And is that what you're currently doing, 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week?
No.
What
It
are you doing?
varies right now.
Well, what are you doing right
Right
now?
now, some weeks I work 48, some weeks I work 40, some weeks I work 60.
Did you bring a paycheck stub with you?
No, I did
How
not.
much did you file taxes on in or what was your W-2 in 2023, sir?
I have no clue because she sent them back. I'm waiting to get them in the mail right now.
That Trudy made over $100,000?
No,
Well, what estimated, how much did you make?
I have no clue.
Where do you bank?
TriStar Bank.
Does your money go into TriStar Bank?
Yes,
Is it
it
an
does.
automatic debit?
Yes, it does.
Where are you currently living, sir?
With my brother,
What is their name? What is his name?
Dustin Ducharme,
And where do they live?
in Hickman County.
In Hickman County. Where in Hickman County? 10782 what?
Yes,
And that's your brother and his wife?
yes,
And that's Shelby?
yes.
Is that correct? Anybody else live there?
His children,
And how many children do they have?
2.
And what size home is it?
It's a 3-bedroom.
And so you have a room, they have a room, and his children have a room?
No, Lizzie has a room, they have a room, and his children have a room.
And where are you residing?
I sleep on the couch.
On the couch. Now Lizzie is one of your daughters with Miss Cassandra Starr Ingram, is that correct?
Yes,
She is a twin to your other daughter, whose name is Elizabeth.
no,
There's Lizzie Mae,
wrong.
okay,
Liza May.
Liza, excuse me.
Elizabeth Starr.
Elizabeth Starr and Liza Mae are twins.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, no E, just Elizabeth, correct?
Yes,
And they're 14 years of age, is that correct?
yes.
And then you have a son, Daniel, and how old is Daniel?
10.
And where do the children go to school? And which child is residing with you?
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth, and how's Elizabeth getting back and forth to school?
we take her to school.
Who is we?
Me or my sister-in-law.
What time do you go to work?
I go to work at 6 or 10, depending on the day.
What, 6A, 6P?
6 p.m.,
6 p.m. and you work until when?
depending on the day, 6 a.m.
6 a.m. And you're working in, you said Spring Hill?
Yes,
So you got about an hour's commute
correct.
and you're working 12 hours a day typically?
Depending on the day, yes.
Did you work yesterday?
No, I did not.
Because it was Sunday. You don't work on weekends?
It's not that. I didn't work yesterday because if I had, I wouldn't be here today.
Well, you would have gone off at 6.
Yes, but after working a 12-hour shift, I would have ended up falling asleep waiting for the trial to start.
Okay. So you get off at 6, you're home by 7, and then you get your daughter in the car at 7 o'clock and drive to, where is she in school?
Dixon.
Okay, so you drive to Hensley after you get off at 7 o'clock?
It is roughly a 30-minute drive.
Okay. Or is it your sister-in-law that's driving or your brother?
Most of the time, my sister-in-law does it.
Most of the time. Have there been occasions when Elizabeth has become ill and had to call her maternal grandmother to come pick her up and carry her to the emergency room because you're not available?
Yes,
She had to get some shoes, something for a shop class, and you refused to purchase those, didn't you?
I did not refuse.
Well, you didn't. You left it to her maternal grandmother to get the shoes.
No, I didn't. She got them before I could.
Okay, she asked you if you would pay for them and you said no?
No.
Did you reimburse her for those?
No, I didn't.
Have you been physically violent with your wife? You've been physically violent with your wife?
No,
Are there holes in the walls?
no, not in the walls of our house.
Where are the holes in the walls? At your house where you're living now?
No. No. There's one hole in the wall, and that was created by somebody that they removed from the house yesterday.
Who did they remove from the house yesterday?
Kevin Garden.
So in addition to who I asked you who were living there, there's somebody by the name of,
Their house.
okay, Kevin Garden. You're talking about the house where your
Yes.
marital residence?
Yes.
Okay.
That
I'm
hole
sorry, the
in
hole in the wall of what residence? Where was the hole?
my
in the-
former residence, the one that I left when she requested that I leave.
Okay, in other words, the marital residence where Mrs. Ingram was living?
Yes, and that hole was created by the roommate that they removed from the house yesterday.
Well, again, that's what I was asking you. Were you physically violent with your wife? Were there holes in the wall at your home? And you said no. Don't you
Because
recall
I
that?
fixed those holes.
Okay. So when was the last time you've been to that home?
The last time I've been to that home? No, November or December?
November, December. And prior to that, there were holes in the walls where you would have fits of anger and you would hit the wall.
No, I didn't punch the wall.
How did the holes get in the wall?
The one hole that was in the wall of that home was created by a chair that was leaned back like this.
And you fixed that?
Yes. Now, there was one hole put into the wall of her mother's house when I was 19. And I repaired that as well.
Now, when you're going to meet these women online, your daughter Elizabeth is staying with you at your brothers and sister's house, and you're leaving her to go have these little jaunts with your online girlfriends. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Have you alienated your daughter from her mother?
No.
You encouraged her to go and visit?
I have told her it is her choice to go, whether she goes and visits her mother or not. We do not speak about her mother because that is disrespectful. While my daughter that lived with her and my son that lives with her basically feel like I don't care about them because she has alienated them from me.
She's carried them to Centerstone. You
Yes.
understand that? Have you carried your daughter Elizabeth to?
Yes, I have.
When is she going and getting evaluated?
She's been multiple times.
And what is her diagnosis?
She has ADHD. She has depression.
Is she seeking counseling for those things?
Yes.
And are you carrying her?
I carry her when I'm not working.
Well, who's carrying her?
My sister.
Have you notified her mother and told her these things?
She knows she's going.
I didn't ask you that, sir. Did you notify her and tell her when Elizabeth has counseling, she needs to go, you need to come pick her up, carry her? Do you do that?
No, because she doesn't want her mother.
Okay.
I'm not going to force my daughter to see someone that she doesn't want to see
Why doesn't she want to see her?
because she doesn't feel safe with her mother after her mother chased her down the highway. And I have video proof of that.
Was your daughter trying to run away?
No, my daughter was trying to get me to come pick her up.
Okay. On the highway?
On the street.
What street?
The street of our residence.
Melrose.
Towards Eno Road.
Okay.
When I pulled up, she was chasing my daughter down the street.
On foot,
Yes,
trying to catch your daughter to make her come back home?
yes,
Because your daughter had fled the house.
my daughter had gone outside, was asking me to come pick her up, and she refused to let her call me. When I pulled up, she took my daughter's stuff out of my car and smashed my daughter's phone. And if you don't believe me on that, I can go get the phone
Where is the phone?
in my car.
Who provided that phone?
I did.
Are you paying child support, sir?
I am in the process of getting them to deduct it from my
It's a real
paycheck.
simple question, sir. Are you paying child support? You were ordered in January
I
this year
will
to pay
be
child
as
support.
soon as they start their deductions.
Okay. You've gotten paychecks.
Yes,
You're ordered to pay child support.
yes.
And you have failed to pay it,
And
correct?
I am waiting for them to start the deductions from the check itself.
You understand it's your responsibility to pay child support, not anybody else's.
That's why I have contacted the state.
Why didn't
And
you
I
just
am-
write a check?
Because I don't trust her.
Well, sir, when you left were you in the court on January 8th?
I wasn't able to be here because they put the wrong court on my documents.
What court did they put on?
They wanted me to be at Hickman County.
In Hickman County, because that's where you were living.
Yes,
Okay. Did you get a notification that there's been a child support case set up and that you were to pay it?
yes.
And
And
then you
that's
just-
why I am getting,
You have failed to pay it, is that correct? What are
like I said,
you paying to stay at your brother's and sister's house?
why does that matter?
Because I asked you the question, sir.
Why does that matter?
Answer the question, sir.
Mr. Ingram, you don't get to ask the questions. If there is an objection that you have based on the rules of evidence, you can object. But otherwise, until this court tells you otherwise, you have to answer the questions. Answer the question.
At this point in time, I do not pay anything because I am trying to pay off bills that I have from the marriage itself.
So you don't pay anything to live and you're not paying any utilities, correct? You don't have a car note,
Correct, because I'm trying to get a new vehicle.
but you you were able to buy a brand new vehicle.
I never paid it off. I
I
only
didn't
made,
ask that, sir.
I
You were
made
able to,
one payment on the vehicle, and then on my way home from work, a deer jumped out in front of me and
You had-
almost killed me in the car.
you had the financial wherewithal to be able to purchase a brand new 2024 vehicle. Isn't that correct, sir?
Yes,
You paid no payments on the mortgage, correct? Mortgage on the marital residence.
I have helped with payments on the mortgage.
Since you left when
No.
did you leave?
I did not.
When you left, when was it you left? October?
Yes, because she requested me to leave.
Okay, and you didn't pay anything in October, did you?
No,
You didn't pay anything in November, did you, sir?
no.
You didn't pay anything in
And I
December?
refuse to pay anything due to the fact that she's pregnant by another man.
Okay. Did you pay anything in December?
No,
Did you
I
pay
haven't
anything
paid anything, period.
And you
towards
paid
the
nothing
home
for
or the car.
or the support of your children, have you?
And I,
Have you
Like
paid
I-
anything in October, sir, to the support of your children?
no.
Have
I've
you-
stated that multiple times. I have not paid anything.
And when did your daughter Elizabeth go and start residing with you solely?
The second month in November.
In November.
I have the date written down.
Your children are on 10 care, is that correct?
Yes.
I believe that's all. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Ingram, you're here on the stand. Do you want to offer any testimony on your behalf about what the court's got to decide, which is basically the adoption of a parenting plan or a spousal support or division of debt? You can testify on your own behalf if you wish to.
On the note of the parenting plan, I request that we wait on that due to the fact that I need to talk with her therapist and get her therapist's documents and bring them to you so you can see them.
Anything else about any of these motions?
I don't agree with the spousal support. I agree with the child support. That's no problem. I'm just waiting for that system to go into effect because I want them to withdraw it from my check directly.
Thank you, sir. You may step down. Ms. Roberts, you may call your next witness.
Your Honor, I would call Cassandra Ingram, please. Ms. Ingram, go up, please. State your name for me, please, ma'am.
Sandra Star Ingram.
And Miss Ingram, how old are you?
I am 34.
And Miss Ingram, you are married to this gentleman seated here, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have y'all been married?
It'll be 11 years, March 2nd.
And y'all have 3 children, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And y'all were married in 2023, but your children, 2 of your children, Lisbeth with no E and Liza May, were both born prior to your marriage. And he is the biological father of those children, is that correct? And then you were married in March, and shortly after that, you had your son Daniel, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And how old is Daniel?
He's 10.
And where does Lisbeth and Liza May go to school? And what grade are they in?
9.
And what about Mr. Daniel? Where's he go to school? And what grade is he in?
He's in 4th.
In 4th grade. And what kind of grades do they make in school?
Not the best, but we're working on it.
Okay, what does that mean? I don't know what that means.
They're about C,
Okay,
CD students. and we're
okay,
Making sure that their medicines are right for focus and.
okay. Well, that's what we're gonna get to. Are they, not every student is an A student.
Right.
Okay? Is there issues with any of your children as far as learning disabilities or have any issues with them?
They have ADHD.
All 3 of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are they all on medication as a result of that?
Yes, ma'am.
When was Elizabeth and Lizzie Mae, were they diagnosed?
Yes.
How long ago?
I want to say it was over 3 years ago.
Okay. When they were in middle school?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what kind of progress did they make early on?
Earlier on, I feel like it was a lot easier because the teachers were able to go more one-on-one. Now with them in high school and having such longer periods and stuff, it's a little bit more difficult.
And they have to do it themselves?
Mhm.
Okay. But they've always, the older 2 have always been just average students?
Mhm.
Okay. And then what about Daniel?
He's a wild child.
Uh-huh.
His ADHD is a little bit more severe.
Mm-hmm.
And he tries, he really, really tries. It's just to get him to focus.
Mhm.
He's about a CB student.
Okay. With medication?
Yes.
Okay. And what medication are the children on?
DJ is on Focalin and
Who is EJ?
DJ.
DJ. Okay, DJ.
Sorry, Daniel.
Daniel.
He's on Focalin and Quellbury.
Mm-hmm.
And then Elizabeth is on lamotrigine, which Liza and Lizzie take lamotrigine, and then Liza takes an antidepressant, and then they both take a ADHD medicine, which starts with a C.
Have they gone to, where do they go for treatment?
Centership.
And how long have they been going to Centerstone?
I want to say about 3-4 years.
When you first started noticing significant issues?
Yes, ma'am.
And are they seen regularly?
Yes,
Okay. And do you carry the children?
I do.
Okay. Up and until when you and your husband separated, who was the one who primarily took care of the children?
I did.
And again, what do you understand? I know what I mean by primarily taking care of the kids, but I want you to articulate that to the court.
I would make their doctor's appointments. I would take them to doctor's appointments. I would make sure that they have snacks or food when they came home from school. Check and make sure that they had homework if they needed help with homework. Make sure they had clean clothes. Ask them to do their chores. Make sure that they didn't have upcoming events with school, whether, because DJ's in basketball. He plays basketball, baseball. So
Now, that's through rec, is that correct?
Yes.
He's not old enough to have school-related ball yet? Okay.
But we always try to sit down and let him know you have an upcoming game. I need your uniform, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to make sure they had everything in order.
Okay. So you just did the day-to-day parenting?
Yes.
Who went to the grocery store?
Me.
Who cleaned the house?
Me.
Who cooked and did the laundry?
Me.
Now, during the course of y'all's marriage, y'all been together for longer than your marriage, but you've only been married since 2013. What have you done? Give me your career, what your jobs have been.
I have worked in a factory for 3-4 years.
What factory was that?
ConAgra. Well, it's Monogram now, I think.
Monogram Foods, but was ConAgra. And
Yes.
what hours did you work?
I worked from 3 to 11:30.
Okay, so you worked evening shift?
Yes.
Okay. And then where, after you left ConAgra or Monogram Foods, where did you go after that?
Huck's gas station.
And then how long did you work down at the gas station?
I worked there for a little over a year.
Okay, and then where are you working now?
I'm working at Walmart.
And what hours do you work at Walmart?
I work from 9 p.m. till 6 a.m.
Okay, so you have a very untraditional schedule as far as a parent caring for their children.
I do.
Okay, so who has assisted you with the care of your children?
My mother,
And she's here today. And what's your mom's name?
Day Osborne,
Okay, and where does Miss Osborne live?
she lives in Charlotte.
Okay, and tell me how Miss Osborne has assisted you as far as day-to-day parenting.
We communicate on the daily about the kids.
Mhm.
And the days that I work, we always have a time where she comes picks them up. Right now, when I'm working, I'll be up to get the kids off the bus, make sure they don't have any homework or need help with homework. And then she comes and picks them up about 4 or 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
And then they'll go to her house to eat and
Spend the night.
spend the night. And then in the morning, when I get off at 6 o'clock, I'm on my way out there.
And that's in Charlotte.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll get to my mom's house, walk in, make a pot of coffee, and then start getting the kids up out of bed and getting their clothes together and getting them ready for school.
Okay. And that's and how long has that been kind of the norm for your children?
For the last 2.5 months.
2.5 months. Okay, and what did you do when your husband was living at home prior to October? What was y'all's, just explain what your schedule was. Your husband worked, or let me rephrase. Your husband works for a security guard company, Allied Universal. Is that correct?
Yes.
And how long has he worked there?
Hasn't been a year yet.
Hasn't been a year. What did he do before going there?
He was another security guard at Worldbrook.
And what hours did he work before that?
2 to 10, I think.
So again, when you were working at ConAgra and he was working, y'all were both gone in the afternoons after your kids got off work. So who was primarily caring for your kids?
Mother.
Okay. And then he changed jobs and then you changed jobs. So again, y'all are still depending on the day-to-day activities of your children being coordinated with your mother. Is that
Yes.
correct? Y'all separated in October.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all had been having marital issues prior to that. Is that correct? Now, again, I want you to be as candid with the court and honest with the court. Are you having a relationship with somebody other than your husband?
I am.
And who is that?
His name is Jeremy Blade.
And how long have you been having a relationship with him?
We started dating late November.
Okay, after your husband left.
Yes, ma'am.
But in fact, are you now pregnant with his child?
I am.
And you understand that you're still married?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your husband has been meeting women online. And leaving, what happened with your daughter who left the home?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. When she left the house, because she had just come home from seeing her dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I want to spend time with you. Let's watch a movie. Let's get some popcorn going. Let's have some time. And I guess she just wasn't having it. And the woman that he was seeing at the time was on TikTok Live,
And who is the woman he was seeing at the time?
Madison Williams.
Okay.
And she was on TikTok Live communicating with Daniel about coming to come get Lizzie.
How do you know that?
I was able to access that TikTok Live.
Okay. And again, I'm not a TikTok person, but again, that's something that you were able to see and communicate and see that he was communicating with this woman. And this is the California woman.
Yes.
And then do you believe that it was some planned event that he was trying to get your daughter to come live with him?
Yes.
Why?
Because I don't think he wants to pay child support, because he's also tried to bribe Liza into come and stay with him too.
What do you mean by that?
He's promised her a new phone to come live with him, and she's like, well, where would I sleep? Well, he's like, well, you have to sleep on the couch right now.
Okay. Now, your daughter, you heard him talk about the fact that you were first it was you were chasing her down the highway.
Mhm.
Then you were chasing her down her street, which is Melrose, that bleeds into Eno Road.
Yes.
Okay, then Eno goes to Highway 70
Right.
on one side and Highway 48 on the other. Which side are y'all on?
It's in the middle of Glendale and Eno, but we were headed towards Eno.
Okay. What happened?
She had climbed out of her bedroom window. And so I had come out the front door and was telling her to please come back inside. If she really didn't want to be at the house, I can take her to my mom's. but it's my time, and I would like to spend time with her.
Mhm.
And she continued to walk down the street. I'm walking after her because people fly down Eno.
Mhm.
And I was like, can we please get inside? This doesn't need to be happening. And she didn't want to listen. And then he comes flying down from Glendale.
And so obviously she had been communicating with him.
Mhm.
Did she get your permission to leave the house?
No.
Did she leave the house with your knowledge or consent?
She left, like, I saw her come out of her window, like, come around the house.
Okay.
But
I mean, you didn't tell her to climb out the window
Right.
and go meet your daddy in a
Right.
clandestine type manner, did you?
No.
Did the father call you and say, hey, I'm gonna come pick her up?
No.
What were y'all doing as far as the children after he left in October?
I was trying to communicate with him about when he wants to do this, but he never could give me the time to sit down and discuss anything.
And you've seen his demeanor and witnessed us trying to have a conversation and things today. He just refuses to communicate with you, doesn't he? About the children, about the house, about anything.
Right.
Okay. And has that left you exasperated?
Yes.
And has it damaged your relationship with your daughter?
Yes.
Do you want a relationship with your daughter? You want to be designated as primary residential of Lisbeth and, Liza May
Mhm.
and Daniel.
Yes.
Has he visited with them at all?
When they reach out to him, he won't reach out to them.
Okay. When was the last time that they visited?
DJ spent the night Saturday night, and he had dinner with Liza Saturday night.
Okay. But other than that, how frequently does he see them?
DJ has spent probably the last 3 Saturdays.
Just Saturdays.
And after his basketball games. And then Liza, he's seen Liza this last Saturday. Before that, it was the 7th of January.
Okay. Did he come to Daniel's basketball game?
Yes.
Has he been to any of Daniel's basketball games?
No.
And he's played, they start that right after January, is that correct?
Well, it was through December.
They played in December and then January, and then I
Yes,
think they
ma'am.
just finished some tournaments and stuff,
Yes,
is that right? And how many games did Dad come to?
None.
And they're all on Saturdays?
Yes, ma'am.
He had practice during the week,
Yes, ma'am.
and who carried him to practice?
I took him to like 3, but mainly my mom.
Mainly your mother?
Because it's at like 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. Have he been providing you any type of support or any assistance financially since he left?
No, ma'am.
Now tell me about it. Did you ask him to leave?
I did at one point, but then I was like, you can stay and we could try and work this out.
And why'd you ask him to leave?
Because I didn't know if I could do it.
Do what?
To be able to look at him and treat
Why?
him like a roommate.
What was
Because
going on with y'all?
I don't know. He would never tell me why he wanted to leave.
Had he told you repeatedly he was done and was trying to leave?
Yes.
Had you started a relationship and were you faithful with him during the course of y'all's marriage? And only after he left have you started having
Correct.
an affair? Okay. Has there been issues of abuse during the marriage?
He has broken my armoire 3 times by punching it. I have a hole in my laundry room door. I have a hole in my bedroom room door.
Well, I mean, he says the only hole in your wall is because he was leaning a chair back and that he fixed it. How did the holes get in the wall?
Because he said he'd rather hit the wall than me.
And he did. But he hasn't. Has he physically assaulted you? Okay. Just placed you in fear?
Yeah.
What would lead to him losing his temper?
Arguments about money or about the kids.
How did y'all do your banking? How would you pay your bills and do things like that?
Well, we had a joint account that when I was the main provider, all of the money would go in there and we'd be able to see it and I'd make sure to pay the bills from that. But he would decide to take out stuff because he needed allowance.
What did you
Stayed at
mean when
home.
you were the main provider?
I've probably worked about half the time that we've been together as the main provider where he did not work.
Why would he not be working?
He couldn't hold a job.
Would there be issues on why he couldn't hold a job?
His temper.
Tempers that you've seen manifest? Y'all have always struggled financially. And again, y'all were lucky enough to be chosen as a family to get a Habitat for Humanity home, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
When were y'all selected for that process?
We've been in the home, and it'll be 8 years this year. So 2016 is when we moved in the home, I think.
Okay. Who did the process? Who attempted to apply and get all that? Did he assist you in doing that?
Somewhat. Like, he went to the classes and stuff, and that's how I found out he was spending money behind my back.
Well, I want you to explain that. Tell me about that.
It's when he was a stay-at-home dad, after we had our son. And when I went to one of the classes, because he went down to Alabama to visit his family with the kids, which was fine. I went to the class, and the lady we had given her our bank statement. And she was like, is this a reoccurring bill that she had highlighted all throughout my statement? I was like, I don't know what that is. And when I Googled it, it was online free games that you can purchase stuff for that he was taking out. And he had spent $600 in 6 months.
To play games on a computer?
On his phone.
On his phone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how much were you making at the time?
I was working at Taco Bell, and it was like $600 a week.
And he spent a week's pay on games on his phone when he was supposed to be at home caring for the kids?
Correct.
Was there a reason he wasn't working?
At the time, I was okay with it because we needed someone at home with the kids. And he just told me he deserved an allowance, and that's why he was spending the money.
Okay. But did you have to pay, where were y'all living at the time?
We were living on Greer Circle.
Renting a house?
We were renting a house, and we had Section
And what?
8. Section 8.
Section 8 housing?
Mhm.
Okay. Who went through the process to get Section 8 housing up like that? So there were 2 adults, 3 children, and y'all were able to qualify because you were the only person working, is that correct? Now you working at Walmart now, and how much are you making? $18.50 an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many hours do you work?
I work between 32 and 38 hours.
Okay. And we've taken that and made an income and expense statement, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you this document. We'll pass that to her. I can pass one to the court. I'm going to show you this document and ask you, did you assist my office in preparing this income and expense statement? Providing us with the information. You filled out handwritten.
Yes.
Okay? And again, in doing that, y'all are paying, your mortgage is $591.63, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that, tell me about the parameters, what are the requirements of your Habitat home?
To stay out of trouble and to make sure that the mortgage is paid.
But y'all don't, are y'all the legal owners of that home?
I believe so.
Okay, but you have to comply and make the payments, is that correct? And have you been struggling to make those payments?
There's some weeks that I don't eat to make sure I pay my bills.
Okay. In addition to those bills, you have to pay your utilities,
Right.
and you have those listed on an average there, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then your car operation. And again, you and I have had this conversation, but again, did you go out and purchase a new vehicle too?
It wasn't my intention. When I went and purchased this vehicle, it was on the behalf of Daniel because he had wrecked his car and it hadn't come off his credit yet. So we decided to put it in my name so that he had a vehicle to go back and forth to work.
What car had he wrecked?
It was a Nissan Sentra.
A new vehicle, this vehicle, we just
Not the
questioned.
newer one.
Okay. He had another car. And what car were you getting back and forth to work in?
My parents.
Okay. So he had a vehicle to go back and forth because he worked out of town. And your parents gave you a vehicle to drive locally, is that correct? He wrecked his, and y'all had to have a vehicle for him to drive.
Right.
Did you go and purchase a new one for him to have a good, safe car to go back and forth?
I did.
And then what happened? Did
He
he,
decided to leave.
and just said,
He was done.
and left you with a car payment?
Yes.
And how much is that car payment?
It is $551 and some change.
Okay, $551. And again, y'all had a 2-income household when that was purchased.
Correct.
So you were paying $591, which is a cheap mortgage payment, you would agree, and you were able to purchase this vehicle.
Yes.
But now you're left with having to have that and pay it.
Yes.
Are you struggling to do that?
Yes.
And again, these are the expenses you have associated with that vehicle, is that correct?
Right.
Then you've gone on and done your food and the children's expenses. So effectively, you're in the hole about $2,500 a month. Your Honor, we'll move that in as the next exhibit.
Mm,
Has he paid you any money since he left in October?
No, ma'am.
What have you done to try to make ends meet?
I communicate with my parents and they try to help me out where they can.
So your mother's helping you with your children on the day-to-day caring for your children and also helping you financially, is that correct, when you're short? You have to go over there and not eat breakfast and dinner mostly?
Yes. Or I have to call the help center for food.
Okay. And how many times have you sought or gone to the food pantry?
I've gone once,
Okay.
and then I've also gone to the food trucks that are here.
Okay. Your children are on 10 care, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to be designated as the primary residential parent, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
You want all three of the kids in your home?
I do.
Now, your daughter is here today,
She is.
and what can you tell me about how y'all have gotten so alienated?
I just know she's closer to her dad. I don't know how we got so alienated, besides we've had to recently put down her dog because he was aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't want to accept that fact. She just thinks I wanted to get rid of the dog.
Well, what happened to the dog? I mean, I know you said you put him down, he was aggressive, and what are you talking about?
He was attacking the other dogs in our house. Has broken one of the dog's legs twice.
Well, how many dogs do y'all have?
I have 3 now, but before that we had 9.
Who had 9 dogs?
9 dogs?
Daniel kept adopting more and more animals.
Well, where are those 9 dogs now?
I gave 2 of them to the Humane Society. Another 2 got picked up by the Humane Society that he surrendered. And then we put the 1 down. So, okay. So
Who put the 1 down?
We did. We did it as a joint thing.
Okay. And then you've got 3 dogs in your house?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, I have a babysitter for my dog, so I mean, I understand dogs, but how are you affording? You can't have food for
It's a
yourself.
struggle. It's really a struggle.
Were these dogs there when he was there?
Yes.
I realize he hasn't assisted you with your children. Has he assisted you other than putting down a dog?
No.
What do you think we filed a parenting plan with the court. You had an opportunity to go over that.
Yes.
Where we're asking that he have the children on an every other weekend basis. You've heard him testify, he's working 12 hours, 5 days a week.
Right.
Do you know, he says sometimes that changes.
Right.
Was that, to your knowledge, for the time y'all were together, was that true?
At the time that we were together, he was working 12-hour shifts. I didn't know it started.
5 days a week, Monday
Right.
through Friday,
Well,
or 5 days?
yeah, 5 days. I never knew what days he had off.
Okay. He never presented you with a schedule?
No.
Okay. How is it, do you want him to have every other weekend?
I don't want the kids to stay the night because they don't have anywhere to sleep.
Okay, and again, where are they staying?
They stay either at my house or my mom's.
Okay, when they're with him?
With him, they
Wait,
stay
wait.
at the residence in Hickman.
Okay, this is a Dustin Deshawn?
Deshaun, yes.
Deshawn, is that his brother?
No,
Okay, I thought he testified he was staying with his brother.
they're not related.
Okay, but you heard him testify he's
Right.
living with his brother.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do they have a shared parent,
No,
a shared step-parent,
no,
a shared relative at all?
no,
Married to a cousin, a niece, whatever?
no,
Do you have a clue why this man got on the witness stand and said he was living with his brother?
I do not.
What, do you know anything about this Deshawn, this Dustin Deshawn or Shelby Deshawn?
Shelby works at Walmart with me. She's a cashier in the morning. And then Dustin's an overload truck driver.
They good people?
Dustin has a temper.
Sorry, what did you say? Move that microphone over in
Oh,
front of you. if
I'm
you
sorry.
would. That's all right. What did you just say?
Dustin Ducharme has a temper.
Okay. Well, I mean, have y'all been friends with them?
He's friends with him.
Okay, y'all as a family have not been friends with them.
I was friends with him until all this happened.
Okay. So y'all were family friends? Would y'all
Yes.
go over to their house, they come to your house?
Correct.
Okay. Were there ever any issues that you that you saw with them while you were having?
Just the occasional, he thought she was cheating, him punching holes in his walls, him getting upset and leaving her for days.
Okay, sounds like similar to what you're doing.
Mhm.
You're having an affair, he's spending money to go to California and then leaving that one and finding somebody else in Virginia.
Mhm.
$600 games on his phone,
Mhm.
making up relatives.
Mhm.
You say he's been physically damaging to your home and left holes in the walls.
Yes,
So it sounds like your kids are getting the same kind of thing at your house that they're getting over there.
yes, ma'am.
You see an issue with that?
I do.
What is your plan to do something about it?
It is. I am trying to take steps into getting my kids counseling, and as soon as I have them squared away, I'm going to counseling.
Okay, who is Kevin Garden?
He is a person that Daniel had brought into our home.
Okay. When did Kevin Garden come into your home?
It's been almost 2 years, and he has been moved out.
But was he there in October when?
He was.
Did he pay anything?
He does not.
Well, when did you finally get him out?
He's been dragging his feet because he has nowhere to go, and I told him I'm picking my kids over him. He's got to go.
Why has he been there at all? Since your husband left, is he friends with you?
Somewhat, yeah. But I told him he's.
You you picking up stray dogs and stray people.
I understand. I'm really kind at heart, and I don't want to see people suffering. But I also know that I've got to put me and my family first.
We understand this lifestyle that you and your husband have created is probably having significant adverse effects on your children.
Yes.
You got children who, if they're C students and they're doing the best they can, great. But if they're not, you understand the environment has a whole lot to do with that.
Correct.
So what assurance is you gonna give this court that you're gonna change this pattern?
I've been making sure to step up and be there more for my kids than I have in recent years, and they have told me that they see this change and they're happy that I'm changing.
But it not been for your mother,
Correct.
you still have to have help.
I do.
And is the man who fathered these children, has he stepped up to the plate?
No.
Do you anticipate that he's ever gonna do it?
No.
You're asking to be designated as the primary residential parent for the children.
Correct.
You want them to live with you and visit with their father.
Correct.
Want him to pay child support consistent with the guidelines.
Correct.
He's making he says $17 an hour, working 60 hours a week. So that averages out about $53,000 a year. You think he's capable of making that amount of money?
Mhm.
And you want assistance, some type of assistance in addition to the child support. He's already ordered to pay child support. But again, were you in court that day?
I was.
Okay. Tell the court, if you would, why did you acknowledge that one of your twins was living with him at that point in time?
It had just, like, she had only been there a month, and I had completely spaced, because at first I told him that she was with me. And I completely spaced and called him and told them that she is with her dad, because he told me that he was going to go after me and press charges on me.
For what?
That he had my child and I falsified documentation.
With child support services?
Correct.
Okay. And so, because you filed and said the petition that was filed that you didn't sign, the district attorney general filed, said y'all had 3 kids and he had left.
Mhm.
When did you file that paperwork?
I filed, it was November. I want to say it was early November.
And when did your daughter leave to go stay with him?
It was after Thanksgiving.
So you actually, you had filed that you had 3 kids and was getting 0 support
Correct.
from the father.
Correct.
So you told them just to calculate child support on 2 children.
Mhm.
Okay. And have you gotten any money?
I have not.
Any payment whatsoever?
No.
Have you been notified of any counseling appointments for your daughter who's been staying with him?
I have not.
Have you notified him of doctor's appointments and things for
I
the
have.
other children? You notified him about basketball schedules and things
I
like
have.
that? Is he communicating with you at all?
No, he tries to communicate through our 14-year-olds.
And which one? You got 2.
Liza, sorry.
You got 2 14-year-olds. And
Liza.
Liza's living with you.
Correct.
Elizabeth is living with him.
Correct.
Have you reached out and tried to get a hold of Elizabeth?
I have.
And how do you,
I message her through Messenger almost every day, if not every other day, to
is
let
there,
her know I love her and to have a good day at school, or
is there any response?
every now and then.
But when she gets sick and stuff, has she recently had to call your mother to come carry her to the emergency room?
Yes,
Had a urinary tract infection?
yes,
Did you go to the hospital?
I did.
Okay, where was Daddy?
He came an hour after I got there.
Do you know who followed up with her care?
I do not.
Okay. Have there been other occasions that she's been ill or needed things done?
She has.
And who does she reach out to?
My mom.
All right, that's all. Thank you, ma'am.
Hold on. Mr. Ingram, you're acting as your attorney. That means you have the right to ask questions, not to make an argument, not to make a statement, but rather to ask questions in question form of this witness. Do you wish to ask any questions?
No, not at this time.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You may sit down. Ms. Roberts, call your next witness.
That's our proof, Your Honor.
The movement has rested their proof, so you have now the opportunity, Mr. Ingram, if you wish, to call any other witnesses. Do you have any witnesses you want to call?
I do not today.
All right, then I will hear you in argument, Ms. Roberts.
Your Honor, what we're requesting is that, again, there's not been any question when I stated my argument early that she gets possession of the marital residence, sole and exclusive possession of the marital residence. We're asking to adopt the parenting plan that we have set forth, and that she be designated as the primary residential parent for the 3 minor children, and that he gets residential time every other weekend, and that you calculate child support on his income of $53,040 per month, which I think is $4,420, and her income is set forth in our parenting schedule of $2,597. There is no daycare expense, and the children are on TennCare, so there is no child insurance expense. We're asking that, again, in addition, the child support services filed something, and that was effective January, so we're asking for a modification of that at this point in time. We're asking, Your Honor, for an additional amount of money, and what we would ask is that he have to pay in addition to child support, that he has to pay an additional $1,000 per month towards marital expenses, or in the alternative, at the very least, for him having to pay the $551.11 payment on the Nissan that was purchased for him to go, and that she's having to pay because it's in her name. And that's what we would ask, Your Honor.
Well, frankly, neither of these parties is going to win any awards for being a parent of the year. Neither of them are going to win any awards for being a faithful spouse to the other. They both have moved on, and she's now pregnant by another individual, and so be it. He's out looking for another person to be involved with in his life. Both of them are still technically married to the other. So there's really no fault to be assigned in either. She may cast aspersions about him meeting women, but she's met someone and is pregnant by that person. So as a result, I don't find any blame should be assessed. I'm going to blame anyone. I blame them both. But that's not what a temporary hearing is for. The court finds that under the circumstances and the testimony before the court, and I realize that Mr. Ingram wanted to obtain legal counsel, and he might have had an opportunity to present some different evidence before the court, but the only evidence before the court is that the best interest of all 3 minor children is that Mrs. Ingram be designated the primary residential parent. That has been the history of them living together when they were together and married. She, in this court's opinion, has the most stable situation with the assistance of her mother. Some question about Mr. Ingram's testimony and whether or not he testified truthfully regarding the circumstances and the people he's living with. But I do find that she should be the primary residential parent on a temporary basis. In addition to that, I do find that Mr. Ingram should have visitation with all 3 children, and that should be implemented according to the proposed parenting plan, which Mrs. Ingram has filed, which would be every other weekend, from Friday at 6 to Sunday at 6, on a temporary basis until we can get to a final hearing. There's a spring vacation. The normal schedule shall apply according to her parenting plan, but I'm going to divide, if they get a spring vacation, we'll divide that equally on a temporary basis. Child support will be calculated according to the incomes that have been testified to at this hearing. And Ms. Roberts can calculate that and send a copy of it to him. Child support will go into effect upon the entry of the order. There is already a child support order down, and that is accumulating arrearages for Mr. Ingram because he has not yet been paying it. And this child support may change because of that, and that arrearage will continue to accumulate. It does because there's been no income, or rather, there's no withholding order at his place of employment. That doesn't stop the order of the court that was entered by the child support magistrate from having effect. So that will nonetheless be in effect until this order goes down. This order goes down effective today. So the child support calculation will be effective as of today.
Can we just ask for a March 1st date, Your Honor, since we're so close? And
March 1st will be the simplest thing. We'll make that effective March 1st.
thank you, Your Honor.
I don't have an income and expense statement from him, but clearly, looking at Mrs. Ingram's income and expense statement, she has $400 a month for food for herself, $1,000 a month for food for the children. She also has $200 a month in clothing, beauty, self-care, $225, $260 a month in recreation, and then a one-time $160 one-time fee for basketball. In addition to that, she also has gas and maintenance on her vehicle, and she has a $551 payment on a 2024 vehicle. So my point of that is that both of you need to understand that you've had two incomes that were supporting one household. You now have two households, or Mr. Ingram is trying to have a separate household, and he has a right to live in separate households with basically the same amount of income. Your standard of living is going to suffer. There's no two ways about it. I have to find that in order to award any sort of spousal support, I would have to find an ability to pay. So I am not awarding it a spousal support, but rather a division of debt, in order that in the interim period, he will pay that $551.11 as the car that was purchased because of the wreck of the other. These are temporary orders that are not designed to be permanent in nature, that they are designed to get you through until you can get to a final hearing. Mr. Ingram will have every right to seek out and obtain counsel and deal with any other motions that might be necessary before the final hearing, but that is the temporary order of the court.
Mr. Honor, I'll draft that and submit a copy to him.
In addition, this order should include a provision that neither parent shall attempt to influence the child or children against the other parent, and both parents will ensure that the children are prepared and ready to go for visitation. So I want all three of the children to go with them for visitation and have that opportunity. They may be living under different circumstances where he's living now, and so be it. I haven't heard anything bad other than the fact it may not be relatives, but there's nothing to indicate that there's a bad home he's living in. And he has a right to have the children live with him, all three of them, on the time that he has. I can expect, Mr. Ingram, that you will get more and more time with the children, and it may be that this child goes to live with you eventually at a final hearing. But at a temporary hearing, all I've heard would justify the orders that I've put down at the present time. That's the order of the court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge, may I approach?
You know.